Hello and welcome to Running in High Heels, a platform not heel for the modern woman. I am your host, Megan Lee Pitsidlik. Today we're going to be listening to the second piece in our Catch My Grift series. The author, Hilton, will be reading her piece called Wake Up and Smell the Essential Oils. This entire series is based around helping you critically think a little more clearly. So here we go. Wake Up and Smell the Essential Oils by Hilton.
Over 2,000 miles away from home, I walked into a brightly colored yoga studio in search of a good workout and some new faces to meet. I climbed the front steps and was met with an intimidating stare from the instructor across the lobby. I explained that it was my first time at the studio and was met with an overwhelming amount of unwarranted praise. It felt good to be recognized in a city where I felt so alone and far from everyone I loved. 90 minutes later, I felt an incredible rush of endorphins as I sweat out what felt like half my body weight. As I left class, I was met with more praise and invited to grab margaritas down the street. And fast forward 1 year later, I was sitting on a floor pillow in a room full of strangers discussing repressed memories of sexual assault. I sought to become a 200-hour certified yoga instructor, and in this pursuit, I experienced a level of emotional manipulation that seemed to come entirely out of left field. In this room, we uncovered traumatic experiences with death to the point of tears. Then 15 minutes later, we'd have a dance party. The rush that came from speaking in front of a room of 40 fed a sense of pride I didn't even know I had. Standing at the front of the room, I felt seen in a city where I was so incredibly lost. Once the pandemic hit, the studio closed and I was forced to face the reality of the deception that had its grip on me. Over Zoom, it became glaringly obvious that this was an emotional and spiritual assault. Up to this point, we had been diving into the reality of our broken nature without a steady foundation to rely on or come back to. In that room, we would expose the darkest and weakest parts of ourselves and then head home to sit in them alone with no one to turn to. It wasn't until finding the truth that I was able to see how dangerous this was. About to move home, God brought me to a new set of steps, the steps of a non-denominational Christian church. First, he led me to a boat on the 4th of July to meet a patriotic, joy-filled Christian woman that was living a life I longed for. She brought me to a Bible study full of women that were and still are on fire for the Lord. That was my first introduction to now what I know is not just my fleeting version of the truth, but the truth. Truth that I can rely on in challenging times and come back to in life's trials. In this, I've realized there's a difference between living in the present moment and only living for the present moment, because the object of hope is future, but the experience of hope is present. And with an understanding of who Jesus is, for the first time in my life, I have an unshakable sense of hope. People often turn to these communities for healing and safety. For a moment, I thought maybe this was one isolated, unlucky scenario I'd happened to fall into with a weird studio. And then I started to dive deeper into the boundaries that have been breached in the yoga world. The misuse of the position of trust occupied by a master of any branch of yoga has been shown to be a slippery slope to forms of emotional and sexual exploitation. This kind of grift can apply to any new age self-help grift that preys upon our anxiety-ridden society. My personal account as an instructor sets the stage for a deeper dive into the roots of yoga itself, which we will explore over the next couple of weeks.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Running in High Heels. If you like what you hear, please click and subscribe. Give us a like. We're on Instagram at Running in High Heels Podcast. You can also listen to us on iHeartRadio and other podcast streaming platforms. And as always, keep living your beautiful life while running in high heels.